Like, what did it mean to you to be a pro?
I could boil it down to like one crystal clear little sentence that it would be integrity first. So like, what does that mean? That means that
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Hook One Pod, the holiday episode of the Hook One Pod. Welcome back, guys. As promised last week, we've got a great guest with us this week, and we've got some really cool stuff that we plan on talking about. So, without further ado, obviously, I'm your host, Pete. We're here in the Hook One studio at Hook One Bait and Tackles, and today with us, we've got a great guest. We've got Captain Rob Barnes of Barnestormer Fishing. What's up, Cap?
what's happening, dude? Good to see you. Looks like a beautiful studio. I'm in my beautiful studio, aka the travel trailer in my driveway. It is finally good to connect with you. And I believe we passed each other in Nashville. I was heading out, you were heading in on Friday. So good to see you. It's a long time no see.
Yeah, man. This episode's been one in the making for sure, but you were gone on work and you actually had everything ready to go. But then we ended up heading out of town for the weekend. We crossed paths in the Nashville airport, which was hilarious. But I'm really glad to be able to sit down and talk fishing. It's come full circle, bro. One of the first podcasts I ever did was your Walleye World podcast, so
Yeah.
it's come full circle.
Yeah, it's fun, man. And I've been paying attention to the stuff you're doing, the guests that you have, talking, starting conversations, bringing people in. And not only, I mean, you have the shop and it makes people feel part of the community, but like you're reaching people all across the U.S. and arguably across the globe about this fishery and what it offers, and like that's what it's about, dude. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome. We're all in it together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to talking to everyone.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind words. This was something that, me and Louie, when Louie was still working here, we just kind of threw it together as something to just get information out and kind of cut the learning curve. And the more popular it became, the more guests we've had on. So between captains and industry professionals and tournament winners, I mean, next week, I'm going to be recording with the guys that won the Fall Brawl and the Walleye Slam, and that's going to be coming out. So
Nice, very good.
we've got some it's just cool. The people that you get to meet, you sit here and talk, and then the next thing you know, you look down and it's been an hour. So,
Yeah. Um, hey, I probably have like terrible ADD here. I'm sipping my water. I see something on your little desk there. I think I see Adam's Coffee, who I know very well, and I see
yes,
some other stuff that you probably shouldn't mix with coffee, but maybe be really good, dude. So I'm not familiar with it, but it looks good.
this one here isn't bad with coffee. This one here is a dark rum, but it's finished in rye whiskey barrels. Um,
Ooh,
it's actually really, really good. And then I learned when we were actually down in Nashville that they make a Hemingway rye that's basically like a bourbon, and it's mixed with this and bourbon. But this one's good in coffee. But yeah, dude, you nailed it. So we've been working with Papa's Pilar. Actually, Rob, I appreciate you, brother. That's a great segue. So we're gonna start by thanking everybody that's been here and done this, and guys from the crew at Whitewater to the crew at Cortland Line to these guys here at Papa's Pilar, men and women, and Adam with Great Lakes Anglers Co. In their coffee. We couldn't do it without those guys. You mentioned it. I tell our listeners all the time. Adam's just a local guy, man, just a Saginaw Bay guy. He fishes Detroit in the spring, but he's got a
great
heck of a
stick.
business going on right now with his coffee. Um, I love that he donates his proceeds back towards conservation. Papa's Pilar has always been built on that. They've always supported it. We're honored to be their only podcast up in Michigan, and we're one of two in the entire country. So the folks at Papa's have been awesome, and obviously the guys at Whitewater have been great, dude. I actually one of our good customers, Tom. Tom, I know you're probably listening, brother. Tom just went ahead and used our code to buy himself the new Whitewater insulated suit. He saved himself like $125. So the guys at Whitewater have been awesome as well. So guys, before we dive into the podcast, I've obviously got to thank these guys. Check out the discount codes right here. Save yourself some money. Holidays are kind of coming to an end now, especially by the time this one airs. But who cares? There's always an excuse to buy yourself something, right, Rob?
That's right, dude. I gotta say something. I don't have a relationship with Whitewater. Their stuff rocks. So I've run their Great Lake suit, not the insulated one. That looks even better. But two
Yep.
seasons and like doubles in the spring. There's some nasty stuff, and it's been rock solid. So like, if people are looking for good stuff, like I highly recommend them. I see that torque vest. That thing rocks, keeps you warm. It's great for hunting too.
It's heated.
It's good stuff, dude. Yep.
It's heated. I'm sitting here in the studio and it's heated.
Dude, I've been overseas. I've been overseas. I rock that thing, and then like the battery packs, right? So like obviously they
Yes.
run the vest, but if I've been in the field in Europe and I need juice and got it on the spot, pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been super happy with it, man. I mean, obviously the clothing game is a business that's been in it for a long time, and you've got powerhouses in the business like Sims and AFTCO, and I mean Orvis has their stuff, but I think Whitewater's absolutely heading in the direction. I've been super happy with their Great Lakes suit. Their Great Lakes insulated suit is incredible. I'll have to show you the next time I have it. I think we're gonna have it at the show with us, but it's incredible. So we've been super happy with it. The crew's been really cool. They're a Michigan-based company, so you know we're all on board.
Yeah,
I'll slide
good stuff,
your
dude.
info to him at the show.
That's cool, man. Yep, that stuff works, dude. It's made for like the real deal. Like it's built
Yeah,
to
man,
last.
that's
So
it. So hey, you brought it up, made for the real deal. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, what you do, in the guide business that you've built and kind of, what made you want to guide?
sure, yeah. So if you haven't met me before, folks, my name is Rob Barnes. I am a charter captain. I'm just a fish bum. I love to fish. I always have. I'm a washed up podcast host. Back when I had more time, I did a podcast called Walleye World, and life gets busy. I got 3 little ones. I also have a full time job on top of this in sales of expensive stuff I can't really talk about online. But dude, life is good. Um, I primarily guide Lake St. Clair. That's home water for me. Detroit River, St. Clair River, that whole Great Lakes, like the heart of the Great Lakes, Lake St. Clair, that whole water system, that's home for me. So
Yes.
that's where you'll find me. Detroit, I'm there in the spring. I work all the Michigan sport shows, the Grand Rapids one, the Novi one, former Detroit one. And then I work some boat shows across the US as well with Starcraft, Smokercraft Marine. And yeah, it's like when you have a heart for something like this and it's about what you are, it's easy to do. So I absolutely love being in the marine industry, the fishing industry, the connections we make, the memories that we help people make on the water. That's what makes it special. So uh, that's where I come from. That's my heart behind what I do. And I've been guiding for probably about 4 years, and I just want to keep it going because the best part of what we do is help people connect on the water, make memories, and catch a fish of a lifetime. And I truly believe we have one of the most special fisheries here in Lake St. Clair and the connecting waterways.
I agree, man. I mean, I'm no stranger to sitting on top of the roof and screaming that we've got one of the best fisheries in the country here. Especially, I'm very biased about our fishery up here, just
Yeah,
because it can be so diverse up on the St. Clair River. And you run quite a few trips on the St. Clair River. Odds are, if you're a customer or a client that's reached out to me and I don't have a day available, I've sent you Rob's way. The guide business is Barnestormer
thank you.
Sportfishing. Um, and Rob does an awesome job. And Rob, I'm willing to bet I'm going to be sending more trips your way. I'm going to be
Appreciate
spending
it.
a lot more time in the store this year, really focusing on growing our bait shop and growing our customers there. That doesn't mean I'm going to completely step away from guiding, but I'm really going to kind of focus on the store this year, and that's kind of what we're going to dive into a little bit. Is like
Nice.
our job can be super fun. A lot of people sit back and they look at us and oh, it must be nice to be able to fish for a living, and it's got to be fun to get up there and fish every day. And don't get me wrong, it is very fun. I'm very lucky. I would choose doing what I do now over sitting in like a cubicle any day. Um, but it's tough, dude. The guide life is an absolute grind. Um, and like you said, and it doesn't take anything away, but there's guys that are out there doing it every single day. And it is
Hmm.
an absolute grind. But to you, obviously the fun stuff can be the fun, but what makes it so tough from your point of view? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great question. And like, if anyone's serious about this, I would ask you to chew on it because anyone can take a class. And if you've got the work ethic to want to go after it, do the X amount of class time in the classroom to get your captain's license, like, think big picture. What do you really want to do with it? Do you want to scale it like small time, 50 trips a year, scale it to 150? Like, and that's a lot of time and trade off away from the family. So, I guess what I'm coming at is like before you go into this, you got to think about what you want it to be and how deep you want to get into it. The other thing
Mhm.
is if you're going to be a guide, charter captain, if you're in the Great Lakes area, it's like you have to wear so many hats, dude. Like you have to be a business operator, an owner. You have to be an entertainer to keep people engaged and have a good time. You have to be obviously a decent fisherman to help them get on the bites. You have to have social skills to talk to these people, work with other people in your network, other captains to stay on bites. You have to be a maintenance expert unless you got like, super connections with a dealer for boats. So I highly recommend having that.
Mhm.
Electronics you have to know, just basic troubleshooting stuff. Like if you got to have all your stuff in a row before you run your trip, because any downtime is dead time, and you're not earning or you're not helping people make those memories and check out that fishery. So have backups to your backups. Cycle time. Think like if your rod's going to break off or you're jigging something in a snagging area, have multiple rods ready to go, and then also give clients a solid block of instruction on the technique before you even leave the dock, along with safety
Yep.
stuff. So you have to wear a lot of hats. That requires you to be professional. And sometimes you're tired. I mean, you're running doubles in the spring. Like it's a grind.
Yeah.
You're gonna be up late. You get home at like 8 p.m. Maybe later, maybe earlier. Depends. You come home. Family needs, the kids need something. Then you got to go to bed, wake up at 4, and do it again. So like, you got to be mentally tough, and it is fun, it is glamorous, and you build a camaraderie and a brotherhood like nothing else. But it's a lot. So if
Yeah.
you're a young dude and you're single, you could probably run it. It's probably a little bit easier. If you got a family, make sure that your family's fully on board to your dreams and what you want to do with it, because it can it can be tough, and everything's a trade off. It could take away from family time. So just think about that. Don't be like so obsessed on the chartering and guiding thing where it consumes you and basically takes over your life. You want to be
Yeah.
a balanced person that's growing and also someone that like you can still honor your wife, still honor your kids, pour into them, but also just rock it on the water and help people make some memories and do amazing things that they never do or experience if it wasn't for you connecting with them and fishing your brains out on that piece of water right then and there.
Yeah. 100%, man. And you hit on a lot of that we're going to hit on. I really want to get into kind of guiding and the bites and stuff, but you hit on a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about later in the podcast about just simply being a professional. Because so many people are, oh, you fish for a living. And a lot of people can't even wrap their minds around it, especially up here, because it's such a niche profession, I would say. But you hit it right on the head. It's very costly. It takes a lot of time. You're not, I hear so many guys in the store that come through and they're like, oh, I should be a guide. Like we catch a lot of fish. I should be a guide. Or, oh, I could do what you do. And I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm saying that, minus the new boat, because you got to have a good boat for your customers to go out in. So minus the boat, minus the electronics, minus the guiding insurance, minus all of the safety equipment, the $400 in life jackets that you got to buy.
Yep.
Minus the classes. So, I mean, what's that, Rob? A quick 130 grand, anywhere in there, depending on what your boat is.
Yeah, with boat prices now, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So forget those expenses. Now you've got gas. Now you've got to have, like you said, backups to your backups. So not only do you have one $3,500 trolling motor on your boat, you really should have two. You should have a couple extra batteries in your garage. You should have a couple extra rods tied up. Even when you go out fishing, if you're going out fishing with 4 people, I always like to say I like to have an extra 2.5 per person. So if I'm going out and I got 4 people fishing, well, I'm going to need 6 rods tied up. Because if they break off, they're not paying to sit there and watch me tie knots. They want to fish. So you got to get them
Exactly.
that. And then on top of all of that, you are very restricted to what your clients can do and what they can learn. So yeah, we can go out and catch limits typically whenever we'd like in the spring, but it's a totally different ball game when you have customers in your boats and clients in your boats, and you're trying to keep them on the fish, and you're trying to keep the boat vertical, and you're trying to keep them
Yeah,
entertained, and you're trying to answer all those questions. It gets to be a lot.
it does. You have to juggle a
Um,
lot because you're not just fishing for you. You're helping people learn a technique and like it'd be easy for me to say like are you gonna get limits every day? Well, can you jig? Like how do I get them to bridge that skill gap where they're
yeah,
able to catch? And there's always like someone that struggles a little bit more, and you have to allocate your time to helping them get there. But sometimes there's a point of diminishing returns. It comes back to a theme we just talked about a little bit with the guiding thing. Like count the cost, not just monetarily, but your time, and like
Oh,
making sure you have the most valuable experience for people you take out, even if
yeah.
you're doing it for fun. Like your time is valuable, their time is valuable. Make it as special as possible.
Yeah. Well, and my thing is like one of my biggest pet peeves is, and it's happening a lot. And I really don't want to get too much into it because I just don't want to get into all the nonsense that's going to come along with it. But I can't stand the culture that a lot of the guides and charter captains are building as far as, let's catch a limit, let's go in. Like I can't stand that when people book a trip with me for 5 hours. Let me put it this way. If I was a customer that was paying you $500 for 5 hours of fishing and you were trying to take me back to the dock at 8:30 because we had our limit, I would politely ask you to take all those fish out of the live well and throw them back in the water because I want to go fishing. I want to be fishing for 5 hours. So I'm not there as a captain. I'm not there to catch your fish. I'm not there to hook fish for you and reel them in. I mean, if that's what some kids need, then that's what they need. But really,
Sure.
it's our job to teach, to instruct, and to allow them to have their best day on the water that they possibly can. And who cares if you ran 3 trips in a day? Who cares if you ran 6 trips in a weekend? The next person that shows up to your boat, and this is one thing that I live by, the next person that shows up to your boat, it might be their only trip on the entire water. It is their first trip of the year. So it doesn't matter how many trips you've ran before. It doesn't matter how many trips you've got tomorrow, later in the this trip is what's important and making sure that they have a good time. That is very important to me. And that's why it's easy for me to refer a lot of trips to you or refer a lot of trips to Captain Joe or refer a lot of trips to Anthony at Finn's and the people that I refer those trips to. I trust you guys. I know you're going to go out there and have a good time because sometimes it's just not that way and unfortunately it's just part of the business, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's
Um
I don't want to get too deep into the same thing, but like yeah, it's all about making sure that they have the best possible experience and
yes.
cutting it short unless there's an emergency or like someone's got to go to the loo on shore, like that's about it.
Mhm.
We're here to fish.
I agree. I agree, man. So where do you mainly guide? Lake St. Clair and the D, right? That's kind of what we talked about. What is it like? Because I did it 2 years. I had a boat slip down there. I drove down there every morning. I did my trips. Try and give the listeners that have possibly never been to the Detroit River in April, what paint a picture of what the heck it's like down there in April as you're taking off from the dock with the other 2 million boats.
Oh man. I mean, it is palpable excitement in the air. When like spring comes, it's cooler, but the air is like more moist because it's
Yep.
raining and stuff like that. When that
You can
first
feel it.
push early April, yeah, that, when April first comes about, like something special happens. Those big fish, whether they're the St. Clair resident fish or the Erie corridor fish pushing in through that narrow funnel we call the Detroit River coming in, it's a riot and there's excitement. There's excitement at the boat launches. If you never launch there or take your own boat, get there early. It takes a long time. I personally slipped my boat in the upper river. And like it's all about staying on the fish. Like the first push of fish, like the big ones, I think they tend to stay south, like closer to Erie and some of the reefs and some of the shallow spawning areas with
Mhm.
sand and other areas, shallow shoals. And then the migration pushes up. We have some of the St. Clair fish that hang out near the mouth of St. Clair and the Detroit River that work their way in. As I've guided there more and more, I just stay in the upper river. That's where my boats slip. And there's some special bites up there for big fish too.
Cool.
So it's got a mix of everything. If you want to get big fish, um, you can slay it. It's really good. But it's fishing for like a different species in a way, different approach,
Yes.
oftentimes different baits, and you can't
Yep.
pressure those shallow spots too much because they'll bust up. Or if it gets to like 9:30 or something, that bite tends to diminish because that sun comes up, the hens don't feel safe anymore, or too much sun, they're gone. So
Yep.
there's a lot of variety to it. If you're looking for just a sleigh fest and tons of fish, there's a lot of opportunities for that. Um, Other things I noticed about the Detroit River, I mean, you have the excitement of both the US and Canadian side, so it's an international border. I always tell people make sure to have both licenses. Have the Michigan license and the Canadian license, because that unlocks both sides of the river, right? Detroit has a lot of urbanization, buildings, historical buildings, cool sights to see. And then as you go towards the mid river, it's more industrial. And if you head south, if you could use your brain, like and imagine something like a little bit, I'm not going to say more wildlifey, but like some of those smaller
Yeah.
islands, even some of the bigger islands, you feel like you're more somewhere secluded away from the city. So there's a
Yep.
little bit of everything for them. Obviously, there's a ton of boats. Like I feel like some of the areas you could probably walk across boats while they're jigging. Everyone works together in the sense that we're all fishing the same drifts, trying to give people courtesy, motor outside of them, don't throw them away. If you are going to go by a bunch of boats, just be courteous, go slow, don't blast them. And then like the other thing as a guide, there's there's definitely cliques. I mean, there's the upper river guys, and I'm part of them. Like I work with a lot of guys at Sinbad's that we run group
Yeah.
trips with. There's the mid river Wyandotte guys, tend to be a bunch of Saginaw Bay guys. They all work together like this, and
Yeah.
everything in between. So yeah, it's like finding your own place where you fish, like who you connect with, and who is like a valued person that you can share information and work together. Because it takes more than just one person to stand on a good bite. Like if I'm fishing and I know someone else is struggling, or maybe they're not on a hot bite, if I can help them out, I'm going to give a call or text them. I mean, we're here to help clients get on fish, and they'll return the favor. So
Mm-hmm.
um, that's why I brought up Adam. I saw that coffee there. I share info with Adam. He's a good dude. We worked on group trips together, and yeah, he's got that coffee. I think he does some 3D printing too. So he's got an entrepreneur's mind. Good dude,
Yeah, he
good
does,
stick.
man. I've been trying to get him on the show here for probably like 2 months, but he does that stint in the summer where he heads up to like Traverse City and then Drummond Island. And then just with the kid and everything, it got super busy. But I've been telling our viewers I'm gonna have Adam on the show, because he's probably got a totally different outlook on it. And he does the Detroit River a lot, but then he goes back to Saginaw Bay where, I mean, you talk about pressure, man. It looks like you're in Key West when you go down to Detroit or like Saginaw Bay as far as like the guides go. I've got it pretty lucky here where it doesn't seem like there's nearly as many. But you go down there and I mean it's the pick of the litter. There are guide boats and charter captains everywhere down there. Um,
Hmm.
but it's super cool to be a part of. Like as much as I love being up here and I obviously beat my chest on this fishery quite a bit. Um, I love going down to Detroit a few times in the spring. Especially like it is just fascinating to me that you could be doing a drift with 75 other boats. Now, mind you, Rob, if there's a drift with 15 boats in it out here, I ain't stopping. There's too many boats. But you can drift a boat, you can hit a drift with 75 boats in Detroit, and you can watch every single boat hook up, probably multiple times in the drift. It just goes to show like the health of our fishery and how incredible, but also, we're pretty spoiled. We're pretty
We are.
spoiled.
Yeah.
When you can have that
Yep.
many guys going over these drifts and hitting these fish, and like we talked about pressure and everything like that, it's just it's incredible um what it can do. And honestly, guys, if you've never fished the Detroit River before, book yourself a trip in April. That I mean, the fishing stays good in May. It even stays good into June. You can get into some fish in early March and stuff like that, but typically April is the best time. Would you agree, Cap?
Yeah, I'd say, and then like if you're looking for just like a whack fest and just putting a bunch of fish in the boat, and maybe you're not sure about like the jigging thing, like
Mm-hmm.
come in May. There's some really good bottom bouncing.
Oh,
So I'd highly recommend that too. Like where I'm at Sinbad's, it's nice. It's like right at a marina. There's private parking. It's not like in a terrible area. And then they have
no.
the restaurant and bar on the spot there too. So I love it, and my guests tend to love it too. But yeah, April and May, like April, early April, probably bigger fish as the water warms up a little bit, start getting towards like 50 and stuff, late April, numbers, lots of numbers. Then that water gets warmer and warmer, 50 plus. I'm bottom bouncing, and
Yep.
it is crazy good in May. And usually around, lately I've been staying till May 30th because it's been really good and people just want to fish it deep. I keep the boat there till then. Then I'm
Yeah.
eddying out and I'm going back to St. Clair in Lake St. Clair.
No doubt, man. And where you're at Sinbad's too, it's nice because it really doesn't take you much time to get to mid river. I mean, you could even get to lower river fairly quickly. And Sinbad's is nice too. You mentioned the bar and restaurant. So if any of you guys decide to go out with Rob or you want to book a trip with him, Sinbad's actually does the cook your catch there. They're pretty
Yeah.
famous for it. Rob will clean your fish up. He'll hand you some fillets, no skin, no bones. And you literally take them right into the restaurant and they fry them up for you. I think you get French fries and coleslaw, but they do a
Mm-hmm.
really good job.
Yeah, you do Cajun blackened, the regular fried, or sauteed with like a wine and
Wait,
butter. It rules. They do a good job there. It's
oh
part of
yeah.
the spring experience.
What what's an underrated bite? Because you mentioned it earlier. You are a fish bum, and you truly are a fish nerd, along with me myself. So it's fun to do that because we really get to kind of nerd out on fish and why they're doing things, and we like to try different things, I guess is the best way to put it. But what is like an underrated bite? And it doesn't even have to be walleye fishing, but what's like an underrated bite that you really like to guide for? Like if someone calls
Mm.
up and they're like, "Hey, what do you want to do, Cap? Like what do you like? What's your underrated fishery?"
Yeah, like I don't get to do it a lot, and just because it's sort of like a oddball thing. But like one of my favorite summer things is to chase the perch before, or like everyone says, "Oh, it doesn't get good till the fall, late
Yeah.
September, November." Like, yeah, it's great then, but like, man, like trying to chase the good perch in the summer is a riot. So I love that. But like one of my niche things that I love to do, I don't get to do it as much, just because I'm guiding and the family. And then I've been to Europe 3 times this year. It's been wild, but like forward-facing sonar, that's fun. But weapon rigging, so like in it's probably more popular on Erie. So Erie guys probably know about it. But if you're out when the mayflies are hatching, fish flies as we call them in the St. Clair corridor, and all those fish flies are popping up, basically almost like old school like Erie Deary, you count down, or you got like a 3/4 ounce weight, half-ounce weight in front of a little leader with a single number 3 Colorado blade single hook. Octopus number 2. I like bigger hooks on St. Clair. And basically, you cast it out. Forward facing sonar helps, like look past the clouds of the bait, aka the fish flies that are hatching and coming up.
Yep.
Find the clumps of fish that can be close to the bottom. Count it down. You don't want to necessarily touch the bottom. Sometimes it helps, but you count it down. I can't remember. I think it used to be like 3 feet per second with the 3/4 ounce weight. Not too wavy or windy. That's about the fall rate. And then slow roll that bait in and just tick. And it's an awesome way to catch fish. Kind of I just love spinner fishing, but it's like a variation. Obviously, you tip that with a ripped off piece of crawler.
Yeah.
Fun to do, and on St. Clair you can catch everything on it. So if you see me, I'm not running guide trips or anything like that. I'm just kind of hovering around some of the well-known weed bed areas. I'm probably weapon rigging, or I'm throwing very light jigs. But it's got to be not very windy to do it. So I just love the finesse presentations. I learned how to do that fishing the St. Mary's with a couple of really good anglers. It's just fun to me. I love pitching light jigs.
Yep.
So
Dude,
jigging light stuff and weapon rigging.
that's funny because I had the gentleman I was actually talking mentioned earlier, but Tom, I know he's going to be watching this. So shout out to you, Tom. He booked me last year for a weapon trip. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I'm going to bring on these lures called the Weapon, and we use them out on Lake Erie all the time, and they're
Nice.
really good." And I was like, "Okay, what do I need to set us up for?" And he goes, "We're going to use your spots." He goes, I'll bring some of the rigs, and you just bring your spinners." And it's essentially the best way I could possibly describe it is the perfect combination between a Carolina rig and a crawler harness. Would you agree?
Bingo. Yep, bingo.
Okay. So that's literally what we did, except Rob, we did it in the river. So we went and targeted all these little shallow flats above the weeds where we cast out. And sometimes it takes a little bit because we weren't using a ton of forward facing sonar. We just wanted to fish.
Mm-hmm.
So we would hit all these flats, and sometimes it would take a while to get the countdown right, like you were saying. Like, I like to count it down longer so I knew I was in the weeds and then go kind of
Yep.
count down from there.
Especially with
And
that current.
yes, and we had success, man, and it worked really well, especially with that current because you cast up on these flats or where there was less current, and so the
Mm-hmm.
weapon would be coming at you, and then what would happen is, as it came off that drop, the current would kind of catch it, and so the line would kind of mend like this, like if this makes sense, the line would mend first, and then it would catch the weapon and snap it back just like that. It would just snap it, and then that spinner would start spinning. Size 3 Colorados. Dude, I mean, we didn't catch a ton of fish. I'm not going to tell you we went out there and crushed, but the fish that we caught every time was on that snap, and those fish just hammered it. And it was a totally unique way that I've ever fished before. And I literally told Tom, I go, Tom, we need to, and unfortunately it didn't happen this year. So I told him it'll happen next year. We're absolutely trying that out on Lake St. Clair because it seems like
Bingo.
one of the most effective ways to cover water with a rod in your hand. It's personally, I like it better than like the search bait phenomenon that's going on right now,
Hmm.
right? Like whether it's a Acme Kalen search bait or the Death Jig from Walleye Nation Creation, like I think those are really good baits, but you've got the weight right here and then the hook right behind it. Where the weapon you've got, like you said, you've got a half ounce, 5/8, 3/4 ounce weight up here, and then your lures are back here. So you got a
Hmm.
little bit more room, a little bit more finesse. The fish gets a little bit more freedom once they get hooked. That is super cool. You brought that up.
Yeah, that's the thing that scares me with those, like, basically, I don't want to call them like Erie Deary Part 2 type baits, but like you got that big chunk of lead right in front of their mouth on that hook, and if they get twisted and turning angry, that weight's gonna work counter against that hook, and you could
Yeah.
lose a fish. You gotta be really careful. I just love finesse fishing. I love trolling. I love trolling cranks. But if I can do something fun and different, weapon rigging, oh, it is so fun. Just get over a weed bed, fish the weed heads, and just get the baits on top of them. And sometimes it's a slow roll, sometimes you got to pop them. But it's
Yeah.
basically it's like a Carolina rig for walleye dorks. It is so fun, dude.
Yeah, it is an absolute blast. And I will say I've learned a ton from you. If anyone is looking to get out trolling on Lake St. Clair and walleye trolling and learning how to troll these weed beds and learning how to troll these breaks, um, I've got a ton of information from you, Rob, in the past, whether it be tournaments we're
Thank you.
fishing or just fun fishing. I think you do it just as well as anybody out there because you're so focused on those. Because like Lake St. Clair, we don't have structure, so I don't want to say structure, but you're so focused on those weed beds or cabbage patches, or whatever it is. But the weapon is just a way to keep a rod in your hand the whole time, and then like you said, just kind of finesse fish, and you can fish it however you want. You can burn it, you can slow roll it, you can pop it. I mean, you can start once you get comfortable with it, you can really start changing up some things and kind of dial it in. That's hilarious. You brought that up. We did not
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
about that before either for you
no, no,
viewers.
no.
That's hilarious.
It's something about it. It's like we have to deal with these fish flies. I almost said fish fry. That doesn't sound very tasty. But like those fish flies, you can work with them or you can get pissed off and stay in shore. I choose to work with them because there's some really good bites. And I
I
love
agree.
trolling spinners just as anyone else, but rod in hand, that's something special. The other thing you can do, if you're in some of those weed areas, like I said, light jigs. I love 1/4 ounce. Sometimes you go a little bit lighter. But like put a plastic on there, rip through the weeds. Like I'm partial. I like the big white baits disc worm. That tomato core is a good color on St. Clair. Anything that's natural, more bait colored, you might catch some smallmouth doing it too. But like rip some jigs through the weeds. Don't be afraid
Yeah.
to. You might have to clean off, but that's okay. That's part of fishing. We don't have like tons of rocks and stuff. So in the summertime, we fish weeds. We fish cabbage.
Yeah. 100%. There's a lot of it. There is a lot of it. Um,
That's for sure.
but hey, I think this is going to be a good time to kind of gear over. And we're gonna have to do probably a whole episode. I'm willing to bet the comments and stuff will be pretty good. We're gonna probably end up doing a whole episode on fishing Lake St. Clair and weed beds and all that because I love talking to different people and finding out different tactics to target these fish because that's literally all we have out there. Like you said, we're not unless you're in the shipping channel or like one of the channels, you don't have any structure. There's no major breaks. There's no major rock piles. There's a couple washing machines out there that the old timers have GPS coordinates to.
Yeah.
Um, but it's something totally different out there than it seems to be, and that's everywhere. Um, but what I really want to dive into and what I really want to talk about is a side of the business that not a lot of people really think about, but it's something that I take a lot of pride in. It's something you take a lot of pride in. It's something that the Romanex I tell Jake, um, I've told him here on the show, but that was like the number one thing I learned the first time I ever worked in their booth. But it's being a professional in the industry, right? Like
Yeah.
showing that you're a professional, acting like a professional, being a professional for your customers, for your clients. And I think that that's very underrated or underappreciated in our line of work.
I'd agree. And like any dude with a boat and like a basic rod can catch fish.
Yeah.
but it takes a cut above to be professional and like present yourself well, to carry yourself as someone would want to fish with or learn from, and then just be a normal person. Like I said,
Yeah.
anyone can get a boat and fish, but it takes a more balanced approach and outlook on things to like actually educate and help someone have a good time out there. So that's where professionalism will crush it. I mean,
It,
like I said, anyone can fish, but like all you got to do is just work a little bit harder, and that just means having some people skills, understanding what the goals are, or what companies you work with or the clients want to do, in delivering on those results. So
yeah.
promises
Yeah,
kept,
man,
promises
and
made, execute.
personally I take it for granted because like I grew up in that whole restaurant business, and I literally grew up in a restaurant with thousands of people around me. So like I take it for granted as far as like dealing with people, and I'm typically not like a super patient person, which is hilarious that I kind of fell into fishing, but I am a lot more patient out on the boat with customers. But being able to talk to customers, being able to all the social aspects of it. But to me, and um, I'm going to ask you in a minute what it means to you to kind of be a pro or be a professional, because to me, it means, like you said, not, I don't know, I don't want to say this like with a big head, I guess, but it means kind of like going a step above. So, like, working a little bit harder, making sure your knots are tied a little bit better, making sure your boat is a little bit cleaner, making sure at the boat launches you're a little bit friendlier, making sure that out on the water you're a little more cautious, making sure you're going out and around the drift. And sure, it might not be the best thing for you. Sure, it might be annoying, when you're at a boat launch. Wait, you know what you're doing, you know how to launch your boat, and you're waiting for some other guy. But to me, in this industry especially, that's kind of what being a pro is helping out, is being more patient, is making sure that you're doing the right thing. Because it's easy if you're just out there for a day of fishing to be like, well, I want to be right here on this drift. I want to be right here on this drift, and maybe cut a few boats off, or maybe not go as far out of the pack as you can and in. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but as far as like being a pro, and to me, if you want to be a pro in this industry, it's those little things that are all going to add up. You know what I mean? To make a big thing. You don't
True.
want knots to slip. You don't want your boat to be dirty. You don't want your eyelids falling off your rods. You don't want to be that asshole at the boat launch. You don't want to be the guy cutting everybody off on the river. That's
Yeah.
just what it means to me. Like, what did it mean to you to be a pro?
Yeah, like everything you said resonates with me. Like if I could boil it down to like one crystal clear little sentence, it would be integrity first. So like what does that mean? That means that like, I'm out there to help someone make memories and enjoy time on the water.
Yeah,
So if I'm egotistical or think like I'm better than them, and how does that affect how I teach them or help them connect with fish?
yeah,
If I carry that attitude at the dock, at the marina, like how does that affect like the people I run with and share info with? Um, if I don't deliver on my promises to like not just like, hey, clients, we're going to meet here at 6:30, we're going to go out. Like if I didn't deliver on my promises to like smoker craft and like showed up to a boat show and helped them out, or promoted offshore tackle or whatever partnerships I have. Like your word and actions are everything of
yeah,
what you do here. And
yep,
like I'm by no means expert. I'm for all intents and purposes, I consider myself somewhat new to this industry, but professionalism, like it's hard for some people. So like look into like what do I have to do to improve myself, to get the results and get the things that I want in industry. Play the long game, have a vision, have goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic goals.
yeah,
Have
yeah.
have
Because
timelines for them.
100%, man. Because in this industry, um, we're in a very the fishing industry is in a very weird spot right now. Um, as far as being a pro, right? Like most people think about being a pro as, oh, you got to either fish these tournaments or you got to be a charter captain, and you got to have all these stickers, and you got to have, the nicest newest boat, which you do have to have a nice newer boat, 100%. And you have to have like the nice truck, but the little, like the little material things don't mean anything, because this industry is very small. And we've kind of this industry's gone through its pro staff phase already, where companies were just handing that word out to give people 15% off their products, and then they're selling 80% more, so it's worth it to them, right? Um, and so for us, it's kind of like, if you want to cut your teeth in this business, show the company why, you're a good investment to them, because not fishing's cool now. So like, people are going to buy the product regardless, right? Um, and so I think that's what's so important, like you said, like integrity, and just doing that stuff, because, the stickers on my boat don't mean shit. My new, I have a 2023, my boat's a 2023. That doesn't mean shit if I'm not doing the right stuff at the launch. The free tackle that you get that doesn't mean anything if you're cutting people off out on the river. You know what I mean? So I think you're spot. I think integrity is almost the perfect word for what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm a pretty simple person, and I like to boil it down to third grade level because it's my way my brain works. But yeah, just integrity first. Do what's right. Treat people right. Um, Honor your commitments. Also, be aware of like the people that you run with. Like, this is like I'm pontificating a little bit, but like if you're a captain and you're running with people, like people that have the same values and same characters you are, people are either going to bring you up with you or they're going to take you down. So like,
Yeah.
just think big picture. I think a lot of people don't do that, and they don't keep in mind how professionalism wins every time.
Oh yeah.
Partnerships come and go in the industry. Believe me, um, but professionalism wins every time. And if you have a name for yourself in the sense that, like, hey, this man is respectful, he can look me in the eye, he does what he says, he cares, and he's approachable. It's a dime a dozen to have egos with stickers and jerseys and boats. There's tons of it. Some people are drawn to that. That's great. Maybe people want to guide with that. That's cool. But like,
You can
what
you
really
can get that
matters is
stuff really
helping
easy
people
though.
understand.
You
Oh
can get
yeah,
that stuff
yeah.
really
I
easy.
can.
Like when I first got into it, that's what I thought being a pro was. And what did I go do? I went and bought a jersey. They cost $90, and you can throw whatever logos you want on them. You
Mm-hmm.
can go to the store and you can buy stickers, or you can go online and buy stickers. And yeah, they look good, but it's like, at the end of the day, we want the sport to evolve. And we're definitely, as far as like fishing as a sport goes, and this is not in the guiding sense, this is more on the tournament level stuff, but we're kind of at a standstill. It's really hard, whether it be the Elite Series, or the National Walleye Tour. It's very hard to kind of crack that code and keep going. Like a lot of other sports just keep
Sure.
going. We're a very niche sport. And then as far as like our jobs go as charter captains, like you said, they're a dime a dozen. So if a guy shows up to your slip, and you're hungover, or you're in a bad mood, or you're grumpy and you don't treat them right, they're gonna find another guide.
Yep, that's a kiss of death. You'll never book them again. You'll never
And the
fish with them again.
industry is so small, so small. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact customers that have taken me out have gone out with other captains. And I know for a fact the guys have gone out with other captains have gone out with me. And I know for a fact that, these people over, there's a certain subset over in Wisconsin that knows about us, in Minnesota and the UP. And it's a small industry, and word travels fast. So that's the most important thing to me about being a pro, is like, do you want another shot at this thing, or do you want to keep growing? Because if the word
Mm-hmm.
gets out that, you don't do the right things, or you're not doing the right things, then you're kind of stuck at a standstill. And that's something that, like, never really, I thought of. I think when I was younger, and I'm not even going to pretend that, I've been in this industry forever. I'm very new to this industry, but when I was younger, that was something that kind of slipped my mind. And credit to you, and credit to the Romanacs, and those guys, and the guys that I've worked with at the show, Roy, and these guys that I've worked with at the show, like, hey, just do this, or act this way, or talk to people this way. And it's not like you're not being someone that you're not. When I say act this way, you're not being someone that you're not, but you're in a more help mindset than in a, like, oh, well, I know this, and I do this, and I fish 7 days a week. And if you don't know it, I know it. You know what I mean? I think
That's
that's
the
just a
quickest
really
way to
tough
make people
attitude to
walk
have.
away. Yep. The other thing, like, for what it's worth, I'll share this. Like, know that like you're gonna start somewhere. You're gonna have some influence to some people in some scale. So like, maybe if you're a charter captain, like you have your core guys that that book you a lot, but they're not your clients. They could go to anyone else. Heck, I've referred people that fish with me to other captains I know, not just because I can't run the trips, but like I don't fish for salmon in Frankfurt.
Uh-huh.
Does that mean I'll lose trips? I don't care. Like I want to help people out. I want them to have a good time. But like
Yeah.
you have an influence, like at the ground level, you have an influence with your family, your friends, and then if you do the social media thing, that's important too. But like think about your actions and how they influence people to like go in and be part of this sport. So
Have
yeah,
you
you only have so much sway and you can scale it, but like just keep it simple. You got influence, focus on what you do well.
Yeah. Have you taken a lot of guide trips like around like have you hired guides in the past? Have you done guide trips before?
Not a whole lot. Like in the '90s and stuff. Like with my dad, we did a lot of fishing. We fished with like Jerry Lee, who did a ton of stuff on Lake Erie and salmon fishing. Um, not a ton, dude. Like
Okay.
I've I've been on a few as a kid, but you
Yeah,
know,
the only reason I'm asking is because like I've been lucky enough like a lot of the times when we travel or when we go places I try and fish, and instead of trying to do a bunch of DIY trips, if I have the funds and I have the means to do it, then I'd like to hire a guide. So like, I've
mhm,
taken guide trips in Frankfurt. I've taken guide trips in Ludington when I was younger. I've taken guide trips in Tampa. I've taken guide trips in the Keys, Cabo. Um Sebastian, typically down in Florida. Um,
mhm,
and I know I'm missing a few. I can remember just about, if I remember the trip, I can remember the captain and I can remember the mate. So it 100% goes back to your point of like, how much influence you have on people, or, the littlest things that you could do or say on that trip, how much it can like resonate with a person. And I would say 95% of my trips have been good. And I can tell you that I've had at least one down in the Keys that was absolutely horrid, horrible. Like if that was my only guide trip I've ever taken, I'd probably never hire a guide again. But luckily, it was
mhm.
one of my last ones I hired. And I just remember being like, man, you are kind of slimy, and that, like I said, that influence that you don't realize, because for that guy, he might have been going on 15 days straight. He might have been sick of going to grab bait. He might have been sick of doing this or sick of fishing this spot or sick of running 30 miles because he does it every day. Well, I don't do it every day as the client, as the customer, right? So like
Sure.
this is my first trip. This is my only trip. That was my only trip fishing down in Florida for the whole year. Um and so that is like what's so important, and those are like you mentioned, the influence and stuff like that. I've been lucky to fish with good guides and to know good guides, so they set good examples. But you're spot on, man. I mean, if people are looking up to you as a charter captain, and if Rob's cutting corners, then for the customer they're like, oh well, I can cut corners. But then they're wondering why maybe they're not catching as many fish as their buddy. Well, you're not using the right terminal tackle. You don't have the right line on your pole. You're not. You know what? You get what I'm saying?
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, it's
Like,
easy to take shortcuts. It's
well, yeah.
easy. But yeah, what
But
it
the
comes down
influence
to,
that
I
you
feel,
have on those customers and those clients is huge. And we
yes,
as captains, we will never understand it because we're not the client on that trip. But like if you're the client on another trip, I mean, just picture yourself, if you were to travel somewhere and hire somebody, you would want their best effort, right?
yes, yeah.
Doesn't matter if
And
they've
it
been
takes a
fishing 35 days straight. Sorry, dude, I hired you. I'd really like you to show me how to fish in your fishery and why you do what you do and explain it to me.
yep, time to
And I
show up,
think that's just
Captain.
really important.
It is. It is. Yeah. Can't cut corners, and it takes a lot of empathy to understand where they're coming from. I don't care if you're tired. I don't care if you're not as prepared. Wake up earlier, stay up later to get that trip ready. Um, this is their one shot. It could be their only shot. It could be the only trip they do in a year. They're looking to do something special and experience a special fishery. So prepare for it, deliver on it.
Yep.
And
And
like I
I
said,
can
easy to.
confidently say that there are way, 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 way more good captains and good guides around us in our area here, from Lake Erie up through Lake Huron. There are I can't even emphasize enough how many more good guides there are than not so good guides. And a lot of the times the not so good guides, it's not even necessarily their fault. They just might be new or they might not be prepared for the situation. But, 90% of the time, if you book a trip, you're going to be in good hands. We're not doing this to, throw shade anywhere, but just kind of like what our, this is what our view on it is and like what our outlook on what the business is and what the industry is.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
Professionalism is everything.
Yeah,
and
100%,
like,
dude. And it was
walk
funny.
out the door. It's what you live and walk.
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about this podcast because I really like to get guides on, just to kind of, I could talk to 5 different guides about vertical jig in the upper Detroit River in April, and you're going to get 5 different stories and 5 different techniques and 5 different things that those guys like to do and that's why I like bringing guides on, is for my listeners. They can really understand this stuff and they can really relate to it. But the one thing that you said when we were jumping on is like, hey, let's talk a little bit about being a professional and like how tough that this business can get. Because, dude, if the fish aren't biting, how tough is a trip if the fish aren't biting?
You are in absolute mental anguish as a captain. You're doing everything you can to try to get them on the best possible bite, and sometimes it ain't happening. So, like, nut up. Time to put in the work and find something. You're going to be running and gunning trying to find something. It's not as easy as like doing some fun fishing with your buddy.
If you ask me what my depiction of hell is, it's an 8-hour trip and not catching a single fish. It's tough, and then it's like, luckily there's I mean, not even 1% of the trips go that bad, but there are definitely trips, and especially depending on the time of year, because being up front with clients, but like, you'll get a client call. I'll have a client call me in like the middle of August, early September. Hey, I want to get on a good walleye bite.
Mm-hmm.
That ain't gonna happen. That ain't
Want to go at night?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, well, I don't want to catch anything else. I don't want to catch pike. I don't want to catch bass. I don't want to perch. I really want to catch walleye. It's like, all right, well, what if we only catch a few? That's fine. Let's go. All right, we'll go. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, man, or even in the spring, dude, where you just get one of those off days and those fish just aren't biting, and you're sitting there looking at your client, and you're like, man, if you'd have been on this boat yesterday or tomorrow, you'd be stunned how much different it is than the one time they're not going to freaking bite,
Dude, I've had days out there, and everyone thinks Detroit River, like, yeah, it's really good. But I've had days where those fish are dumping eggs, and they're not biting. You might only get one fish, even with your tipping with a minnow or putting whatever magic scent. I use ProCure. Like, there's just some days it's not going to happen. But try your hardest and put in the time and see what you can get. But yeah, it is. You have so much pressure on you as a captain because, like I get like tournament fishing super exciting. I've done that before. You're fishing for the top 5 fish, but like every fish is like I won't say like a trophy, but every fish is an opportunity to help that client have something special. So the pressure is different, but yeah, so you can't control everything. All you can do is line up success in your favor with preparation.
That's it, man, and have fun. At the end of the day, it's having fun. I tell all my customers when they get on the boat, you better check in with a good attitude. Because that stuff's infectious. If you're sitting there 15 minutes into the trip, like, oh, we're not getting bit, we're not getting bites, and you start spreading that negativity around the boat, it's very mental. I mean, I can't catch a freaking fish on Pimp Daddy. Can you explain that? Because the only thing I can explain is it's mental.
You ain't pimping, Pete. That Greek mystique isn't working with that bait.
If you ain't pimping, you ain't trying. That's funny, dude. But hey, believe it or not, Rob, we are already nearing the end of the show here.
Oh, man.
Dude, isn't it crazy how fast it flies?
It does. I'm sipping my water. Just one more thing, dude. Like my ADD brain. I'm looking at the Pilar rum and the coffee. I'm thinking like you could make an adult Four Loko with that. But anyways, yeah. If I
thought
could
about
talk
trying it tonight.
You might be up for a little bit, but if your little one wakes up, you'll be ready to change the diapers. Hey, if it's possible, I'd love to do a giveaway on your show if you'd allow it.
Do you have it?
Yeah, man, I got them here. So like, I want folks to like scent is a huge thing of what we do anywhere you fish. So I've got 3 new of these ProCure Pro packs. So the guys from Fishing 411 just came out with these. This is the walleye pack, Gizzard Shad Trophy Walleye Nightcrawler, bass pack, crawfish, Gizzard Shad Goby, and then the salmon pack here. But I'd love to give this away to your audience. however you
Yeah.
see fit. Like, man, take these in the store if you want to do a giveaway online. But these are yours for the Hook One guest, people that stop in, support his podcast, his tackle shop, and his charters. It's a good dude. But yeah, scents make a difference. And these are just coming out from the guys from Fishing 411. We're going to give them away, part of the show.
Dude, yes, we did. We talked about that too. And those packs are actually, guys, you're going to be able to find those packs in store this spring. We're going to carry all three. We're going to carry the walleye pack, the bass pack, and the salmon pack. So let's see, Rob. Let's do a giveaway on our podcast. I've been known to, everyone says like how you're not allowed to have a favorite child. Well, my favorite child between my charter clients, my bait shop customers, and my podcast listeners, my favorite child is my podcast listeners. They are number one. The support that they've given us and the people that they've spread it to and the information they give us in the comments and everything like that. Like, I seriously, you guys, I can't thank you enough. So this is what we're going to do. And it's going to be easy. You're going to head over to Facebook and you're going to like Barnestormer Sportfishing on Facebook. The link is right down below in the bio. Literally click the link. It'll go to his Facebook page. Click like. After you do that, make sure you're subscribed to our make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Most of you guys already are. If you're not, then subscribe. It literally takes a click. And tell your friends to subscribe. That'd be cool. But that's not part of it. The last part of it is comment done down below. And then let us know what pack you guys plan on using. I know a majority of you guys are walleye fishermen, but do you want to see the bass pack? Do you want to see the salmon pack? And Rob, can we give away, we'll do one to each. We'll give away to 3 people, huh? 1 pack each?
Yeah, let's do it. One
bass
cool? Guy, 1 salmon guy, 1 walleye guy.
Beautiful. And if you're a walleye guy that wants to try bass fishing, then maybe you want some bass. And we're gonna pick you guys at random. So just because if in YouTube you want to let us know that you're gonna be using the bass pack, you might get drawn for the salmon pack. I'm just saying it because if only one person says they want to win the bass pack, then it's not fair that they're the only one that gets it. So here we go, guys. Real quick, head over to Facebook, Barnestormer Sport Fishing. You can click the link below. It's Captain Rob's page. Give Barnestormer Sport Fishing a like. Then make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube and make sure you comment down below, done, and what pack you'd like to try using. Not that you'll win it, but what pack that you'd like to try using, and we'll give that away. We're actually giving away, by the time this episode airs, we'll already given out 2 separate 2-packs to the fishing show, which we will see you at. Right? You'll be there.
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking to the audience, not me. I'll be there, dude, every single day. Offshore tackle booth, co-located with Fishing 411 TV. Always a good time talking trolling, and those yellow boards put fish in the boat straight up. So if you want to learn about doing some board fishing, learning about the releases, and our new copy of the offshore release newsletter for 2025 will be there. Come see me. Come say hi. I'll be there in Novi and also Grand Rapids. So look forward to it. January, March, I'll be there. Hope to see you guys at the show as well.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. I'm looking forward to spending some time over there with you guys when I sneak out of my booth for a little bit. We'll actually so Rob will be down there talking offshore in the 411 booth. They don't sell the offshore boards. We'll have the offshore boards. We'll have the Bill Lewis PWCs for $10. I will give you guys a sneak peek at our show specials. They will be $10. You're saving $3 a bait. We'll have the PWCs. We'll have all the Pro Cure. I don't think we're going to have the packs quite yet. I was talking with Rob. We've got a bunch of scents still here in the store that I'm going to bring down to the show. But I will have all the scent packs by the spring at the very latest. Most likely probably getting delivered in February before we kick off with the Derby. But Rob, please, Captain, let them know. Please let our listeners know where they can find you, how they can support you, and if they want to book a trip, how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. So the name's Captain Rob Barnes. You can find me on Facebook, Barnestormer Sport Fishing. My website is www.barnestormersportfishing. That's BARNES, Stormer Sport Fishing. You can book online, totally online. You can call me if you want to set up trips. Send me an email, text. You can do it that way. It's a great way to book your next trip. If you're at the shows, come say hi. And then if you're looking at some trolling stuff, want to learn about it, I'll show you it, and I'll be sending people right to Pete. So Pete, thanks for having me here again. If you guys want to find me, I'm on Facebook and then my website. Come say hi and come enjoy this amazing fishery. This is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, man. Rob, I can't thank you enough, dude, for jumping on the podcast. I know we've been trying to line it up for a while between work and the kids. It's just been super busy, so I really appreciate you sitting down with me tonight and
Thank you.
going over this stuff, man. I bless you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yep, we'll see you soon. And until the next time.
Yeah, man. And for you guys that are still tuned in, hey, don't go anywhere. We got discount codes. Boom. Save some money right here. Whitewater Fish, Papa's Pilar, Great Lakes Anglers Co., and Cortland Line. Cortland Line, we're going to have some custom line coming to the store so you can customly spin up your new combos. Seafoam green, bright orange, purple, pink, all braided, all 10-pound lines coming to the store. So that'll really be fun coming from Cortland. If you guys have any questions for Rob, please drop them below in the comments. You can shoot him a message on Facebook. You can shoot us a message, and we can get you into contact with them. If you don't want to book online and you just have our information and you want to book a trip, get a hold of us. I'll send you Rob's cell phone number, and you guys can get squared away on a trip. So, again, Rob, thank you, sir. I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Pete, and your family.
You know what? This episode's going to drop the Monday before Christmas. So I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, man. I want to thank you guys all for a great season up ahead. We're going to have an awesome show. The last show of the year is going to debut right before the new year, and that's going to be with the winners of the Fall Brawl and Walleye Slam. Really looking forward to that show. But, Rob, I'm glad you could celebrate this holiday episode with us. You guys have a very Merry Christmas, and we will see you guys next time on the Hook One Pod. Adios.
Take care, folks.